I'm always being asked what people should use for an ultralight sleep system. A bivvy, a tarp, or an ultralight tent. And what's interesting is every one of these makes sense, depending on who you are and how you hike. If you're trying to go ultralight, fast packing, or just simplify your system, this decision matters way more than most people think. Also, Moose has some opinions about this as well, because he's not fitting in that bivvy. Hey guys, I'm Ricky, and this is your trail buddy. I'm on my way back from Colorado from a recent trip out to Death Valley, and I thought I'd take a chance here tonight and just set up the different systems and show you what each one is like. I've set up a bivvy, a tarp, an entry-level ultralight trekking pole tent, and an ultralight freestanding tent that I've taken out on the trail for at least 1,000 miles. I'm gonna walk you through how each one of them sets up, how much they weigh, what they're like to actually sleep in, and who each one is actually for. If you're trying to go lighter without being absolutely miserable, this video is for you. Let's start with the bivvy. This is probably the simplest one that you can use. This is the Outdoor Research Helium bivvy, and it weighs right around 16 ounces. Sit. You can use this one without stakes or even without the pole if you wanted to. But from my experience, I really recommend that you stake it out because it gives it and it pulls it out stronger. And I even recommend, I don't have it on here, but there's a loop right here on this pole. I recommend staking out one right here, which is gonna make it a little bit more challenging to get into. But the times that I've slept in this thing, the pole gives you a little bit of headroom so that you're either not sleeping with your head out, which you can do with this, or you don't have the bivvy laying on your head. But if you don't have anything holding that pole in place, it has a tendency to try to fall back, or if you don't have it staked down. So with it staked down right now, you can see it's got a little bit of hold there. So even though it's not really sturdy, it's still gonna keep it from falling completely down on you, and even going this way as well. But if you stake it out, that'll really make it good and rigid, especially if you're in any kind of bad weather. The other nice thing about the bivvy is that this adds a little bit of extra insulation to your sleep system. And so a lot of times what I do here is I'll still put in an air pad because you still want that insulation from the ground, especially in times like now when it's winter. Even when I took this out to Joshua Tree, it was still getting down to the high 30s, low 40s. And so I still wanted some kind of pad system to be able to give me some insulation from the ground. And so I'll put my air pad in and then put your sleeping bag or your quilt. Now, I will tell you though, if you do a quilt, what I recommend is take your air pad outside, put the quilt on, get your straps and everything on it and get it just right in place, and then slide it all in together because it's really difficult to do that once you're in the bivvy. Now, as far as the bivvy goes, this thing is so easy to set up. It takes no time at all. It's probably the quickest thing that I have out here to set up, especially if you're not even going to stake it down. But it's also the most confining. For me, this one really makes you feel confined. And so even if that doesn't bother you, I also feel so much more in the middle of where I'm staying. And so like when I was in the desert, this gave me a little bit of anxiety, not a lot, but mainly because I wasn't really that familiar with staying in the desert as it was. And so being that close to everything in the desert and all the different noises, it all seems right there next to you. And so I felt a little off-put when I was staying in here. But did I survive the night? Yeah. And if I went back and, now that I know a little bit more, my challenge with the desert was I just don't know all the different critters that there are that could come crawling around. And so when I'm in a place that I'm more comfortable, this thing doesn't bother me nearly as bad. But I would say this is definitely something I would use sometimes if I'm trying to go minimal impact, not taking a lot of time to put anything up, if I'm fast packing or something like that. But it's definitely not my favorite sleep system. Now let's move to the tarp. So the tarp is probably the lightest weight option that I have. This here is the REI, I believe it's their quarter dome. They don't sell it anymore. But this one here is about 12 ounces, not counting the stakes. And so this is probably the lightest thing that I have, but nowadays they have tarps that go way lighter than this. I mean, if you were really trying to get the lightest possible, you could absolutely get a 5-ounce tarp of some sort to be able to really be able to give you some space. And so this is also, a tarp is going to take a lot more experience. And so if you're brand new to backpacking, I really don't recommend tarps to anybody, because you've really got to work on getting the pitch just right. I mean, you can even see here tonight, I don't even have this perfectly pitched out. I didn't stake all the different points there, and I'm dealing with a lot muddier ground here, and so I just didn't have the time to get it all perfect the way I would normally. If I was actually going to sleep under this, I would have put in a lot more effort into getting this a lot more taut. But the nice thing too about the tarp is there's just so much more versatility with what you do with it. So you could do this here, which is your typical A-frame pitch here, and this right here gives you probably a good bit of space under here. It gives you a lot more protection from the sides on this, but there's so many different ways that you can pitch a tarp. If you maybe saw my tarp video that I did before, I show a few other of those ways that you can actually do to pitch it. And so that's kind of the nice thing about the tarp, is it just depends on whether you're wanting to use it for a shade or a rain break if you're out backpacking, or if you're actually trying to put it up for a sleep system. Now, the challenges that you're gonna have with the tarp are that it's open. And so you are gonna have things that is gonna be able to get in and out here potentially. You know, you could get rodents or anything like that that may have. I always worry about the chipmunks that seem to move around before it gets dark completely, being able to get into your stuff. And so you really don't have a way to close off the area to keep your stuff away from anything. So you're pretty open up to the environment around you with the tarp. And so that's kind of one of the downfalls, I think, that comes with setting up a tarp system. And then the other challenge that I have, as we see here with Moose, when he's out with me, so he can fit under this one, whereas he can't necessarily fit in the bivvy with me. But the challenge is now is he's not contained either. And so I have to always be careful when he and I are out tarp camping, because he could easily get up in the middle of the night if he wanted and go wander off, and I might not know where he would go. Or if something did come into the area and he decides to go running after them, then I have a little bit less control. And so sometimes what I've done in the past will be maybe leave his leash on him while we're sleeping, and so that I could maybe have it strapped to my arm or something. So just that way, worst case scenario, if he goes to run out after something, then it's going to grab me, and I've got an opportunity to hopefully grab the leash before he goes running off into the wild. But I know a lot of people tarp camp, and this is a great option if you're trying to really go minimal on the weight that you're hiking out with. All right, and now that brings us to a trekking pole tent. Now there are a lot of trekking pole tents out there, and a lot of ultralight tents out there that get really, really lightweight. But this is one of a more of an entry level one that I've just recently got that I'm testing out. This is the Lanshan Pro 2. Now, this one is a lot cheaper than a lot of your really ultralights, but it's also not as lightweight. This thing comes in just over 2 pounds, and it's also a single wall tent. So depending on your situation too, you can have some challenges with that, which is why they're able to really bring it in at a little bit more of that entry level rate and stuff for cost. But this, what it does is this gets you down to a good weight. So in theory, most people are already taking trekking poles out when they're backpacking. And so by making it a trekking pole tent, you're taking away the pole system and the weight that you would normally have with a tent that's got its own stand-up poles. But the challenge that you have with a tent like this is, you can see in the install video here, I was having a really hard time getting this thing perfectly taunt out and pitched, because it's a kind of a muddy environment here, and you can tell they've had a lot of snow on the ground recently, and it's been melting during the day, and so the ground's just kind of saturated. So every time I went to go pull on one side to kind of try to tighten it up, one side would fly out. And so it just became a little bit of a challenge, which for me, which was good for me to see tonight, because one of the things I'm really testing this for is, could this be a good beginner tent for somebody who's wanting to go ultralight and maybe get a trekking pole tent. And so I definitely learned tonight that in this particular environment, you would have to have a good bit more skill in knowing what you're doing. And so if this was your first time setting up this tent and having to do it in these conditions, I think that would be very challenging and could get very frustrating for someone. So far, I kind of like it. We've slept in this tent a little bit on this trip. We slept in it in Death Valley. It's got a lot of room in there. There's a lot of other things that I could tell you about that tent, but we'll go into those details in another video for that. But the thing that makes this different than, say, the Tarp or, say, the Bivy is that you're now able to close this up. So there's zip doors. You can zip yourself up. You can get in there. If I've got Moose with me, he and I can both be in the tent. I can let him off. I can take his harness off, let him get comfortable, you know, give him, he's even got space to be in there with me. So a lot of times I bring him his own quilt so that he can lay down and get comfortable and sleep next to me. And so I don't have to worry as much about that. And then it also gives you a break from everything around you. So you're not necessarily seeing everything that you have going on around you. And it lets you sleep with a little bit more peace and calm. And that leads us to a freestanding backpacking tent. And so this here is the Big Agnes Tiger Wall Ultralight 2-person tent. I've had this thing for many, many years. This is one of my tried and true tents. It's just over 2 pounds as well. And so it's just maybe an ounce or two lighter than the Lanshan, and it has poles. But this is a lot higher dollar tent. This thing brand new runs into $500 or more to be able to get, whereas the Lanshan is under $200 on being able to get a tent. But the nice thing about a freestanding tent is that you can put it up, and then if you don't want to, you don't have to put the rainfly on it. If you're in great conditions where there's no bad weather or anything, and you want to be able to, say, see out and see the night sky or see the view around you or those kind of things, you have that option here. Or you can take and you can put on the fly, and then now you've got that ability to get it in and get yourself out of the rain and other things that you might have too as well. You can also, even without the stakes in it, if you needed to, and say I set this thing up and I didn't like where it was at, I could then take it and move it somewhere else, where you can't do that with a trekking pole tent. So there are some benefits. These also, just like the Lanshan I didn't mention, but both of these also have the pitched out vestibules here to where you can also store gear to keep it out of the weather, and some of those kind of things that you can do too as well. Some of the challenges that you have with the tarp, right, is on the ends there, you're not going to always be able to keep the weather out from in there. And so if you've got bad weather, you're now having to move further into the tarps area to be able to consolidate your area. So whereas you might have a lot of space in there before, you're not going to have it as much if you got rain blowing in from the sides. Whereas here, you can stake out both of these vestibules on both sides and be able to get this really to be able to give you a lot of space. And so this one too, kind of like the Lanshan, both of mine are 2-person, so there's plenty of room in here for Moose and I both to get in, have our areas, and have all our gear in the tent too as well. So just to quickly recap, out of the 4 things that I showed you today, the tarp is definitely the lightest weight and the most versatile sleep system that you can have, because you can do so many different type things with it. The Bivy is still pretty lightweight, and it's so quick and easy to do. And so if you're out fast packing, or you're trying to put as many miles as you can on the trail, and you're just wanting something simple and easy to get into, then maybe the Bivy is something that you would like. And then when you look at both of our tents, if you're really looking to be able to be out on the trail and you want to have a little bit more of a living system and you want to have room for your pet or your dog, then definitely I think a tent is going to be more into your style. And there are many options out there to be able to get you into something. As I showed with the Lanshan, there's great ways as a starter tent to kind of get you in, but you definitely want to spend some time practicing with that thing and putting it up before you ever take it out into the field. But if you want the simple, easiest thing to deal with, then a freestanding ultralight tent is definitely what you're going to want. And there are a lot of different models out there that get you into that 400 or 500. I think even Durston tents have got some good starters that are not there. If you don't go with their most ultralight ones, you can get that money, that dollar amount down to a decent amount It's where it'll be a good tent for you to start into. But if you're really going for the lightest light tents, like there are some freestanding tents and trekking pole tents out there that are less than a pound, but you're gonna pay for those. They're gonna cost you anywhere from $600, $700, $800 to be able to get into one of those. So for most of my trips when I go out, it's either the trekking pole tent or the freestanding tiger wall tent, because most of the time I'm taking moose out with me, and to me, those are the best options that I have. So I'm willing to carry a little extra weight knowing that I've got more freedom and I've got more of a sleep system that I actually know that works for me. But here's really the ultimate truth. There really is no best system. There's only best for the trip, best for this season, or best for your style. Ultralight doesn't need to be about suffering. It's about being intentional with what you carry. Let me know in the comments below what you use. Do you use a tarp, bivvy, or a tent? And why? Hopefully this was helpful to you guys. If so, hit subscribe and hit that like button, because I've got tons of more gear reviews and awesome tips on how to lighten your pack system without necessarily breaking the bank or breaking your back. All right, guys, and as always, I hope I see you guys out on the trail.